Hi there, welcome to today's painting tutorial. Today we are going to paint a fading rose with acrylic paints, so let's get started. I'm going to start with a size 0 round brush. Don't forget to grab the sketch linked in the description below so you can paint along with me. Let's pick up some of this burnt umber. And you want to use this sketch because it's going to give you a map of where to put the dark shadows. And that's a really great place to start when painting a rose. So I'm going to take this 0 round with the darkest shade of brown, and I'm going to just simply put in every place that I added a dark shadow in the sketch. So I didn't sketch out every little part of the rose. I only sketched out where the shadows are. So this is going to be an awesome guide and help us to really get the correct structure of the rose. Okay, so we'll come down over here. And then we have a large shadow right here. So you could almost think of this as kind of like an underpainting. We have a shadow here. And then over this way. So I think roses can be hard to paint because it's so easy to get lost with your sketch. So if you just sketch out the shadows, that'll give you a really good place to start. Okay. And I'm also going to take this dark color and put in some shadows on the greenery, along the stem, down along this bottom of the stem where the shadow is. And then we have these little nodes. You want those to be darker. And you could also put some along the leaves as well, just to give a nice structure in a underpainting. And also we have some of these falling petals, and we could put a dark shadow in some of those as well. Can put a little bit on this one. Always want to have your dark values in a painting, and that's what gives it dimension and causes it to look more three-dimensional and to pop. Okay, so now we want to transition into a lighter color, but we still want it to be dark. So I'm going to take the burnt umber, and then this is a brilliant red. That is the name of the paint. And I want to make a dark red, almost like a maroon. And then I'm going to add that along these shadows that we put in there. This is a transition from the shadow. We'll put it above this area here. So I'm just building up from that shadow. We're getting dark to light. And this will hopefully give us a lot of nice dimension, as well as simplify and speed up the process. Okay, and now we can get lighter. And to do that, let's actually add some shadow. So have this purplish gray color. And let's start putting in this grayish purple as a shadow color. So it doesn't have to go everywhere, but it's a beautiful shade to create a nice shadow on some of the petals. we want to have a little bit of depth. Put some over here. And it's mixing with the red, which is okay. Okay, so I think that's good for the shadows. You could put some down along this little falling petals as well. Okay, I'm going to rinse the brush. So now we can get a little brighter. Let's take some straight red and start putting that in. You can see it's really nice and intense. And because it's so vibrant and intense, we're going to use it sparingly. And the outer edges seem to be a little bit less intense, and only these petals that are really coming forward in space are going to be this bright, intense red color. Okay, so you don't want to overdo it. This is going to be where your focal points are, where you really want the eye to be drawn to. Okay, so let's put, I don't think we want to highlight too much of these petals. Okay, so now we want to go darker again. Let's try mixing the red with some of this purple. And maybe a little bit of the pink as well. I'm going to make a nice neutral, muted color of red. Okay, and then let's try putting that in. So I muted it a little bit because I don't want it to take away attention from a really bright, vibrant red color. Okay, we'll put this in. I'm still using this round brush. You could use a flat brush if you wanted to, but this one is just helping me get into these small areas. Let's come around this edge. We'll come up here. So this is just a nice mid-tone. I can also bring some into the center of the rose. And then over here. So it's a nice, almost a filler color. Okay, now I'm just trying to cover up all the whites of that paper. Okay, so then you can step back and look at your work. So at this point, I'm going to mix another shadow color with some of the brown and the red. And I might come back and add a little bit of this dark red. Try to use it to smooth out some of these lines. Get some blending going. Maybe deepen some of the shadows. And I'm also covering up some of the red, or the white of the paper rather. And some of these shadows might need to be intensified further. Adding another layer can make it just a little bit darker. Okay, I'm going to take this neutral and try to crisp up some of the edges and continue to cover up the whites of the paper. I'm going to take a little bit of this peach, mix it with some red, and then fill in some of these white spots that are in the center. I'm going to cover all of that up. And you could even you could have toned the paper with a burnt sienna before you did the painting, and that could have made it a little bit easier to get rid of all those white areas. Let's come back with some of the dark shadow. I'm gonna bring some of that back, covered up a little bit of it. Okay, so what's really gonna make this pop is when we put in the highlights in the center. And let's let all of that dry before we come in and do the highlighting. I'm going to take some of this mid-tone that we mixed up and put a little bit of that in some of these petals that are falling, just to smooth those out a little bit. Okay, so might need to clean up some of these edges. And in order to do that, you just have to have enough paint on your brush. Sometimes it gets streaky if you don't have enough paint. Okay, so now let's let that dry and work on the leaves. You don't have to wash your brush so much because that red is a complementary color. It's going to help to create more of a muted green, which is fine. But I'm going to use the dark brown mixed with some green and add some of the shadow. So it's going to be the darkest parts. I can put some on the leaves, around these edges, and then along some of these nodes. So you can be pretty loose with this, have fun. Doesn't have to be exact. You can make it nice and painterly. Now I'm picking up a little bit more of the straight green, just filling it in. It's a nice first layer. Let's try to get a crisp line here. Okay, we have these areas here. And again, this painting is a little bit loose, so you can use painterly brush strokes. Okay, I'm going to switch brushes. Let's switch to a flat brush. I have a size 3 here. And I'm going to pick up some of this Hooker's green. And I'm going to start putting in that for the leaf areas. Also, I have some of this yellow ochre. Let's add a little bit of yellow ochre in there. It's just going to make a little bit more of an interesting color combination. It's going to make it a little more sophisticated, getting that yellow ochre into the stems. And then I'm going to pick up this other green, which is a warmer green. You always want to use a warm and cool color green when you're painting leaves. Okay, and then let's mix up a mint green so we can take some white and some of that Hooker's green. And this is a nice highlight color. So we could add a few little highlights on the leaves. Any place we want to come forward a little bit. And I can take this color that we mixed up, the minty green. We could put it in the center as a highlight. You could make some little lines in the center of your leaves as well. Just add as much detail as you'd like there. Okay, so at this point, I'm stepping back. I'm going to take this 0 round brush. And I think we need to clean up some of our edges. So I'll take this mid-tone that we mixed up. And I'm going to use it to go around the edge. I have a little bit of water mixed on there. We just have some rough edges that I want to clean up and just make them a little bit cleaner and neater. Just to make everything look a little more professional and smooth. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this 0 liner brush, and now is the point where we want to add some really nice highlights. And let's try doing this with this coral peachy pink color. I might add a little bit of white into it to really brighten it up. Okay, and then you want to go into the center. You don't want to put it where the dark shadows are. You want to go on top of your lighter values. And just put that along. These light values make a really beautiful highlight in the center of the flower. Okay, bring it over this way. Any place that you want it to stand out quite a bit. But you don't want to go all the way around in this dark area. You can leave that. And again, you could come back and play with the shadows if you want, if you need a little bit more blending or another layer of shadow, or if you need to clean them up. Okay, but I think we will call this painting complete. So that is how you can paint a fading rose with acrylic paints. I hope you give this a try. Like and subscribe for more painting tutorials. If you want to go deeper into painting, grab my free guide in the description below. I also have a full program that teaches you everything you need to know about acrylic painting. So check that out as well. And we will see you in the next video. Bye.